Okay guys, so in this first video here, I want to show you after now we've kind of plugged everything in, hooked up all the USB cables, connected these three units together with the little pins that you saw in the unboxing video. I want to take you through the setup process, just like you would if you were to buy this for the first time. I've never done this before. I've read the manual a little bit, but I like to do these videos in a way where I'm showing you what a real world experience would be after you get this thing home and see how difficult or easy this thing is to set up. I'm sure it's pretty easy. So a couple of things first, as you saw in the unboxing video, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. It'll be in the playlist in the description box below. I showed you how I purchased the one hub, which is a power distribution USB hub. And what that allows us to do is that allows us to plug three USB cables, one from each one of these units into that hub, and then one from that hub to the computer, just like a typical powered USB hub, port hub, as well as the one hub has AC power distribution. So you plug the power cord from each one of these three units into that hub, and then one goes into the wall. Now that does not come with the QCon ProX. That is an additional charge. You don't have to buy that. That ran me about $150 US when I bought that, but it gives you again USB hub and AC all in one unit. Makes the install a little bit more neat and clean and easy to deal with, and fewer ports and outlets you have to take up or use. However, I will put an image up on the screen here to walk you through this. If you didn't have that, you don't need that. On the QCon ProX, the main master system here, there is a USB hub built right into the front of the unit where you can plug USB cable from one extender into this and from the other extender into this, and then one USB cable from this to your computer. So again, you're only taking up one USB port on your computer. However, then you'll still have to plug the three AC power cords into some kind of a power strip or three different outlets in your wall or some kind of power conditioner, or however you want to do it. So just be aware of, you don't need the one hub. The one hub just makes it a little bit more easy because you have both USB power as well as AC power. So you can decide what you want to do there. I just wanted to make you aware of that. So once you got everything plugged in, so to speak, the next thing on that front panel is there's a little toggle switch called Daw Mode, I think it's called, and there's an auto or manual. You can switch that little switch to auto or manual. The way that works is this comes set up from the factory with this overlay, this metal overlay for Cubase and Uendo. So if you were using Cubase and Uendo and that was your main DAW, that switch would be set to auto. And what that means is when the QCon fires up and you turn on the power, it is going to read the plate that's in here, and I'll show you how that's done in a second, and it'll recognize that it's Cubase and Uendo, and therefore all the buttons here in the master section will already be pre-mapped for all the Cubase and Uendo DAW controls. Really cool. If then you use multiple DAWs, let's say you use Cubase and Uendo as your main DAW, but then from time to time, let's say you use Logic. Well, what comes with the QCon ProX is that they have those plastic little insert overlays that I showed you in the unboxing video, where you just take your Logic overlay, you just lay it over the top of here, you turn off the system, fire the system back up, but now you want to do it in manual mode. That's when you'd want to switch that little toggle switch from auto to manual. So you can manually go in with the buttons and you can choose Logic in this example. So then you can use Logic because if you were in auto mode still, it would still recognize Cubase and Uendo. Does that make sense? So if you're using multiple DAWs, you want to be in manual mode so you can switch back and forth between the different DAWs that you have. If you mostly just use one DAW like I do, which is Studio One, you can keep it in auto mode. Now, because this comes from the factory from Cubase and Uendo, you can also get, which is separate, it doesn't come with this. You have to ask for it or I think purchase it. And I believe these are free of charge, but you just have to pay for the shipping charges, I believe. I'll leave the link in the description box so you can check out their website. I think that's the case, and it's somewhere around $30 or $40 US to have one of these. But what they sent me here as part of this system is they sent me the Studio One aluminum plate. And I'll see if I can get that in focus in the camera. See if that'll focus. Come on. Maybe. Maybe not. But anyway, this is the Studio One aluminum plate. And there it goes. And the aluminum plate here on the back, which makes this system work, is this little what looks to be like a little computer pins here that kind of rest on the motherboard. So you take out the Cubase one and you install this one, and these little pins touch connections on the motherboard, and that is what recognizes which overlay you have when you have it in auto mode. Does that make sense? And this is made out of aluminum. This is the metal. This is not the plastic, the more, cheaper plastic ones. This sits and installs right into this unit. So the way you do that is you take this little screwdriver that they gave you, nice little handy screwdriver, and we just take out the 6 screws along the outer edge of this, and this overlay comes out, the Cubase one, and the Studio one goes in, and we screw it back down. Now there is also 2 additional screws here that you do not want to take out. That's what holds this connector to the metal plate. So you don't want to mess with that. So if we just take out these 6 screws, I'll show you how easy it is to put this one in. And again, you always want to do this. Get my microphone. Hopefully my microphone's not in the way. You always want to do this with the power off. Obviously, you don't want to do this with the unit turned on. So these are just 6 little Torx screws. Again, we're only going to take out the outer edge ones, and we're going to install the Studio One plate. Now we'll be in auto mode according to the manual, and it should automatically recognize it. Again, if I wanted to switch DAWs, again, let's say go to Logic or Reaper, I would get my plastic insert, lay it over the top of this, turn off the unit, the QCon, but then switch that little toggle switch on the front of the unit, as we spoke about. We switch that to manual mode. And then when we fire it back up, we can choose our DAW manually. So if you have multiple DAWs, it works pretty well, pretty easy. If you just use one DAW all the time, you may want to consider contacting Icon and getting this metal insert so you don't have to choose it. You don't have to be in manual mode. You can just be in auto mode. Okay, so once the screws are out, this kind of just pops right up. And there it is. Cubase Innuendo goes away. And you'll see right here, here's that little computer board I was telling you about that lines up with these two. These what it looks like 6 pins. So this just lays down right on top here. Okay, fits perfect. And then we put the 6 screws back in. And then once we do that and we turn on this unit for the first time, it should recognize it. At least that's the plan. I haven't done this off camera. I'm doing this live for you, just so you can see how it will respond the first time you use it. And you'll see it just like I'm a brand new user, just like you. I have never turned this thing on yet. I plugged it in the last video, and now we're gonna, now we're gonna turn it on. Don't lose these screws. These things are tiny. And I don't think they give you any extras. At least I didn't see any in the box. But you should only have to do this once. So it's pretty clever. So this system apparently is pretty much, the plastic insert overlays they give you is for every major DAW. I mean, every one that's out there. The only one that's not out there is, as of the recording of this video is Universal Audio's Luna. And I don't know if Luna is even compatible to use surface controls yet. My guess is Icon, once Luna is able to work with hardware surface controls, my guess is that Icon will somehow get that updated so it works with Luna. Although I'll bet you Universal Audio is going to put out their own surface control at one point. But nevertheless, all the other DAWs, it works with all of them. So that's it. So that's how you install it. Pretty straightforward. So we've installed this now. Now when we turn this on, there are 3 rocker power switches in the corners of each one of these. So I'm just going to reach over and turn this thing on and see what we have here. So let's do that. Let me move my mic out of the way. Okay, so it's going to be hard for you to see the LED screens, the LCD screens, because of the lighting and everything. You're not going to be able to see it very well. And I apologize for that. But I could tell you they look really good, and we'll talk more about that in the future. So on the first LCD screen up here, it says DAW select, press the arrow keys. It says Mackie control mode is selected, which is what we want. So let's see here. What do I do next? So up here at the top has DAW mode modifiers. Not sure what we do next. Do we do this? What do we do next? Okay, it says Mackie control mode selected. So now I got to think, and I'm going to pause here for a second. I think now we're going to open up Studio One, and we set this up in Studio One. It should have already recognized it. I don't see anything here to do to change, because we're in auto mode, so we shouldn't have to go in and do anything with our DAW. I'm going to get Studio One open, going to show you how we set this up as an external device, and we'll see if we can get this thing running. I'll be back in a second. Okay guys, so let me show you how this works. I got this figured out. It is super simple. So before we launch our song in Studio One here, one of our sessions, right now, the QCon is off. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn this on. Now, when we turn it on, and I'm going to show you with the iPhone, I'm going to try to get some video of the LCD screens because you can't see them from the overhead camera because of the lighting. If you have the metal insert like I do here with Studio One, as I said, when you power this thing up, it's already going to recognize that, and it's going to put it into Mackie control because we're in auto mode. Remember I said in the last little section that we're in auto mode on that front toggle switch. That's going to recognize that this Studio One insert. It's automatically going to switch it to Mackie control because it recognizes it. If you were in manual mode, you would then go through the menus with the buttons and choose your DAW. Let me show you though, when you first power this up, what this looks like, because it takes a couple of seconds when it first powers up. It's a little confusing, and then it recognizes Mackie control. So let me do that. Let me move this out of the way. Let me power this on. And you'll see, this is what you're first going to see on these 3 units. Depress the arrows, and then after a couple of seconds, you'll see it's just going to go to Mackie control. See, it says DAW, press the arrows to select. You don't need to do that. It's recognizing, there we go. It recognizes that we have that plate in, the Studio One plate, and it recognizes that we're going to be in Mackie mode. Mackie control mode selected. That's what we want to see. So just wait for a second or so. If you're Pro Tools, it should say Huey mode. But if you're anything other than Pro Tools, I believe it's Mackie. I even think Logic might be Mackie. You can read the manual to be sure. Okay, so that's what it's going to show. And then these other LCD screens are going to show this. Here's the first one. It's going to show the QCon ProXS, the first extender channels 1 through 8. It sees the ProX is channels 1 through 8. And then the final extender here on the right. Okay, so now we're going to go into Studio One here, and we're going to open up Studio One, open up a session. I'm going to show you how to add this. It's really simple. So I'm going to just open up. All right, can I do this from here first? Yeah, before I even open up my session. Okay, so I'm going to open up preferences here. I'm going to get this on the screen so you guys can see it good. Okay. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to external devices. Now, if you're on a PC and not a Mac, this preferences window will not be located at the top here under Studio One. It'll be located under the options menu, I believe it is, towards the right-hand side, okay? But you're going to go to this window. It's going to look the same, and we're going to hit Add. And what we're going to do is we're going to come down here in the list to Add Device under Mackie. And we're going to first pick the control. We have the control and the control extender. The control is for the ProX main system, and the control extenders are for the 2 extenders. So let's start with control, okay? Now we can rename it if we want. We can always say, oh no, first, can we change that? Oh no, we can't change the name there. I thought we could. I guess we can't. Anyway, we're going to go receive from, and you'll see that it recognizes our 3 icon units. So the first one we want to pick is the control unit, which is the ProX, the one in the middle, okay? The one above it is the XS1 version 207 and the XS2 with the numeral 2 after it for the second extender. So let's pick the ProX, receive from, send to, hit OK. Okay, and you'll see the LED lights flashed up on the screen here. I don't know if you saw that. Now we're going to add another one. We're going to go down to Mackie. We're going to go to the extender, and we're going to do the same thing. I guess you can't change the name in that. I thought you could. Anyway, now we're going to pick the first extender. So we'll pick the first one right here, XS107, version 2.07. Okay, make sure we got the right one. Hit OK. We should see flashing LEDs on the meter bridge. Or no, on this one, sorry, it was on the right-hand side. Then we're going to go to add one more time, and we're going to be able to rearrange these. I'm going to show you. We're going to go down to Mackie, again, extender. And we're going to go now the second extender, which is designated by the number 2 here at the bottom of the list, and receive. And then that's going to be this one over here on the left. You can see all the lights hopefully flash up and down. Now what we want to do is we want to place these in the right order, right? Because we want to make sure that we go from left to right, channels 1 through 8, 9 through 16, 17 through 24. Right? We want to make sure they're in the order left to right. That makes sense. So we're going to go to this button here called placement. And we're going to get this little dialog box here. I'll open this up a little maybe so you can see it better. Okay, right now they're ungrouped. So we want to group them. We can group them to any one of these 4 groups. We're going to go group 1 and we're just going to drag these up here. So here's our main control. We're going to drag it up here, left click drag. Then we're going to take one extender. We're going to put that on either side. Well, right now I'll put it here, and then I'll put the other one over here. And now we have the control in the middle because that's how I have it oriented. And then I have one controller and the other controller. Now, which one is which? I'm not really sure. We probably got to fire up Studio One and see which one is which to see if 1 through 8 is here and not on this side. And then we can always flip-flop them, right? We can always do that. But once we got them grouped here, we should be able to close this now. And again, if you had a different configuration, let's say you only had one extender, you can either put it on the left or the right. All you would do in this grouping box here is just left click and drag, and you can reorientate them any way you want. So let's hit OK. Let's hit OK. Let's open up the session right now. Okay, and you can see all the faders snap to place. So let's see. So this already got this in order. So you can see track 1 here is moving my kick drum, right? If I go to track 17 is over here. So it's already orientated in the proper direction. And there we go. That's how easy it is to set this up. Okay, that's how simple this is. Now, what I will show you on the LCD screen, on the top one, it actually names the tracks. So there's kick, snare sample, snare bottom, hi-hats, tom 1, 2, 3, 4. And that mimics what I have going on in the screen in Studio One. So you can see that here. Now on these LCDs, it just says channels 1 through 8, channel 1 through 8, and this is the master fader, okay? And then channels 1 through 8. I think on certain DAWs, the track names are not up on the top LCD. They're on the ones here in front of you. I'll have to read more about the manual. So right now, these LCDs are kind of useless. And that, unless they do something different with plug-in control parameters, we'll see all of that in other videos. But honestly, just by looking at this on my desk, I'm glad that the names of the tracks are on the top because they're easier to see. This is a little bit more challenging to see the writing because you got to kind of look over the top of it. I wish they made these little screens that had little flip ups that flipped up so you can see the writing a little bit better. Hey, just a tip for the for the chaps over at Icon. But anyway, that works. As you can see, it works really well. They're really smooth. It's really responsive. Absolutely no latency or lag. I mean, I could be moving this like this. Look at that on the screen. That's pretty impressive, pretty impressive. So in the next set of videos, we're going to start walking through and selecting everything. And oh, what I really love already, I can see when I hit track select, it switches in Studio One. That's beautiful. We talked about this with the Softtube Console 1 did this as well, but other Surface controls don't do this. When you select a track, it follows on the screen. Very nice. Okay, anyway, that's how you get this set up. Now, the one thing I did not do is, although on the website, they do have the latest firmware updates, and I didn't update that. It's when you register your devices, you create yourself an Icon, user profile on their website. You register your devices with the serial number. It's super easy. And then once you do that, it will have a list of additional downloads, things like the user manual, which I highly recommend you download, this quick start guide in all the different languages. They also have the firmware updates for both Mac and Windows. I'm not quite sure what firmware was loaded on this at the factory. I guess I'll figure that out and I'll bring that to you in another video. I'm sure it's one of these buttons up here on the transport tells us what firmware we're on. And then I'll take a look at that and probably make sure that we update to the latest firmware. but just straight out of the box, this thing works. So that's how easily it is to set it up. If you're a first time user, the only thing you gotta kind of make sure you have straight in your head is if you don't have the DAW metal insert here that you're going to be using, then you want to make sure that toggle switch on the front of the Icon QCon ProX is in manual mode. And then when you first fire it up, you'll see directions right on this LCD screens up here using the arrow buttons over here in the master section to choose the DAW that you're going to be using. Okay, but if you're using Cubase, or if you bought your metal overlay here, the insert with the little thing that we showed where we installed it, it'll automatically recognize that. It'll then, after a couple of seconds, as you saw here today, we'll put Mackie control, and then you just go into your DAW and you just set up your controllers like we did here in Studio One, and it just works. It just works. So I hope you found this setup video helpful. Make sure you check the playlists in the description box below, because depending on when you're watching this video, there will be an entire set of videos on the use of this. And we're going to go through everything, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on how this system really works, how intuitive it is with the DAW, which is to me the most important thing, and how efficient or not this Icon QCon ProX surface control is. And so make sure you check the links in the description box below. Okay, so thanks for sticking around and watching the whole video. Now, this is your first time here, I want you to go check out homerecordingmadeeasy.com, because we're talking about a mixing control surface here. I want to give you a free mixing course. It's right on the homepage at homerecordingmadeeasy.com. It's worth $100. It's my gift to you just for visiting Home Recording Made Easy. Once you take that course, if you want to check out one of my other paid training courses, I want to give you a coupon code that you can use at checkout to take 25% off any course on my website. That coupon code is YouTube25. Again, all the links will be in the description box, and all the information will be in the description box below. And last but not least, we're talking about mixing with this Icon QCon ProX system for the next bunch of videos here. We're talking about mixing. So if you are really into mixing and you really want to get better at the craft of mixing, whether you use a surface control or not, but you're all in the box with plugins, and you want to learn it in a very non-technical way, and you want to hang out with a bunch of like-minded people who are all trying to get better at the craft of mixing, where you get a full new mixing course every single month, a set of multi-track files every single month. You get to join an awesome community of other students that are learning and trying to get better at the craft of mixing, and then also get one-on-one time with good old Uncle Dave here. Check out what I have going on at mixingmadeeasy.net. It's great for beginners and intermediates. Again, all the links will be in the description box below. So until the next video, where we jump even further into the Icon QCon ProX, I'm super excited. This is a badass unit, man. It looks killer. We're going to get into this thing. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you guys in the next video.